this is big. This is real big. Like I said, there is nothing bigger. You will not hear a message larger in the next 1,000 years than what I'm talking about. There literally is a plan. There's a blueprint. Hello, I'm John Lancaster, and I'd like to welcome you to this message series entitled The Body. I believe it is a revolutionary blueprint for finding purpose, place, and peace in your life. And what do I mean by that? I mean belonging. How do you fit? Where do you fit? Where do we fit as a culture? Where do we fit as a people? This message is very, very big. Very, very big. I challenge you to find a larger and more important subject for this new millennium. And you'll see if you listen to this series, yeah, I think you'll see what I'm saying. This is so big. It is probably the greatest need that faces our world right now, and I don't see anybody having answers for it. I don't see anybody having solutions. I see a lot of Band-Aids, but I don't see any solutions. And to be honest with you, up until about 13 years ago, I didn't have any solutions. I had just about thrown in the towel as well. But something hit me. Something woke me up in the middle of the night, and I wept like a baby. You see, it was a culmination of my whole life, of all my studies, everything that I was about. It came to almost an epiphany. And that's what I'd like to share with you in this series. Like I said, I challenge you to find anything larger and anything more important. Unfortunately, I'm not a speaker. I'm not a teacher. I'm far from it. I'm a builder. I've been a builder all my life. I've been a builder for over 30 years. Had my own business and for all those years. And I learned a thing or two about people and life, but the skill sets that are necessary to be a builder don't necessarily translate over to doing this, to speaking or teaching. But I feel impelled to do it, because I don't hear anybody on the internet, preachers, self-help gurus, nobody. Nobody is going to the root of the problem. The root of this homelessness, this incredible homeless, purposeless feeling that is not only here in the United States and it's in every culture. There's like a purposelessness. That's why Rick Warren's book a number of years back sold 30 million copies. People are looking for purpose. They might be successful, but they don't feel significant. And so people are searching left and right. And in my search for it, I stumbled upon something even larger than I had hoped. It's like hunting for a rabbit. I fell into this incredible truth. And that's what I'm sharing here. And I'm hoping that the leaders who hear this, again, this is big stuff, and probably just for leaders. I don't know if the regular people now that are not in charge of a group of people or actually their mindset's there. This is for the speakers and teachers and the people who are overseeing certain entities, and they're asking, Lord, what? I need a big picture plan. I need a blueprint for my business, me. And so bear with me if I misspell a few things, I mispronounce a few names. The details are not my strong point, but please look for the rough diamond in what I'm talking about. I mean big rough diamonds. I'm telling you, I don't get excited easily. I really don't. And when this hit me, oh man, I haven't been the same since. And it's been 13 years ago. Take you back just a little bit. I was, a child of the 60s and 70s, and we grew up in very turbulent times, Martin Luther and the Kennedys being shot and everything, and there was a real season of finding yourself. And so when I went off to college, it was a real time, almost 40 years ago, where people were, looking for answers. And when that decade or two kind of passed and people didn't find answers, they pretty much put things on the shelf, and they went in other directions and went in very silly and very shallow directions. And I think we've come back full circle, and we're asking it now. Only thing now is things are worse. Things are worse now than they've ever been. You thought it was bad then. Oh, goodness. We just had maybe Russia to worry about. Now we have just about everybody to worry about. We have our neighbor to worry about. We have backpacks laying on sidewalks to worry about. This is a wild time that we live in. And so that's why there is such a need for a big picture solution. Is there a plan? Is there a solution for mankind? They're saying the only thing that will heal today's ills worldwide and nationally would be a new ideology. Well, to be honest with you, I wasn't looking for an ideology. I was like in college, I was just looking for answers for me and for my friends and people around me. So I studied psychology, sociology, and business. How can I help people, And then I went on to study missions, and then I was like, well, maybe the needs are deeper than just physical, shelter and food. And so I started looking for what are the basic needs that people are looking for. And I found that once the person had some shelter and food, they had a giant need for belonging, for purpose. They say the two greatest needs that man has is to be loved and to belong. And what is belonging? It's knowing that you belong. You have a place. There's a purpose for you. And when you find those two things, you end up with peace. It's the greatest need of man, and it keeps growing and growing. To where right now we have a worldwide bully effect occurring. People don't know who they are. Countries don't know who they are. And you see it happening. You see it happening left and right, everywhere. And so I am extremely excited about this message series, and I invite you to come and listen to it. And hear these things that the Lord has shown me. I believe He's literally shown me. And so, but I'm going to take you back a little bit because, in my search for, home, homelessness needs home. And in doing so, I found myself being a home builder. And I've come from a family of builders, but I realized that the word home is a very, very big word. It's a big word. It's what everybody's looking for. Prodigals all over the world are trying to come home. But what is home? What is home? Being in this business, many times, I've heard it in real estate and everything. Say, don't call it a house, call it a home, because people want home. They don't want a house. And it's so true. All the houses I built are house improvements. They didn't want that. It's home. They want a more feeling of home, of belonging. Make this place maybe fit me more. I want to feel like I belong. And so home improvements, home renovations, home building, you're not doing it. It's just houses. I don't care if you have millions or billions of dollars. You can't buy home. Home is a much bigger thing. And yet people aimlessly and fruitlessly try to purchase it. And so after spending 30 years of my life building homes, I have stumbled upon something that I've dedicated the next 30 years, if I'm lucky, to building. Something so great, something so large, I can't explain it. It's just, and I invite you to be a part of it because there's nothing larger. Nothing larger. I used to get excited about going and helping build shelters on the mission field or churches. Nothing compares to this. Everything pales in comparison to what I'm about to show you. I've thrown a couple of blueprints on here to just kind of give you an idea that there literally is a plan. There's a blueprint. There's spending my life, finding pieces, a 2x4 and this, and just seeing a house after it, I realized that, people are very different as well. They're very different. And they're as different as building materials. And I said, there's got to be a solution. There's got to be a plan. There's got to be a design for mankind. You know, being in the building business, I've done a lot of design work, and I appreciate design, and I recognize it when I see it. I recognize good design, and I recognize bad design. I understand in architecture that it's form follows function, that something is built due to the function that it's supposed to perform, and that's the form it takes. It's in all of life. But what I was amazed to find out is I see little science dedicated to it. So I'm going to just draw a little spectrum on here. I'm going to write micro over here. You know, these are the microsciences, you know, biology and cellular biology and everything like that. If we studied the human being, let's draw the human being right here. And if we draw things below what the naked eye can see, it is amazing. It is amazing the design that is there. Oh my gosh, it is so big. It is so detailed, and anybody with an entry-level course in biology to study the human being, the tens of trillions of cells, intricately formed and held together, you can't say there's no designer. We can't even come close as a human race to designing one small part, one small piece of that. You know, we think we're smart because we're discovering what is, but we can't do anything about it. We cannot more create life than we did 1,000 years ago. We're just basically observers. And so in the world of microscience, it is amazing the design that is there. But even on the other spectrum, the macro spectrum, oh my goodness. You know, take a telescope or just go on YouTube and see some of those things where the Hubble telescope is giving you those images. Oh my gosh, they'll zoom in on a very black spot of space. There's nothing there. And zoom in a little more. And they'll see some stars, and they'll see some small fuzzy stars, only to find out those small fuzzy stars are actually entire galaxies. We don't even know what the edge of the visible universe is. We can't even. It's unfathomable. And then how it's all held together with black holes, and it's like, you know, we're not as astute as to the design there, but oh my gosh, surely, no, we can't even come close to it. Trillions of galaxies, in each galaxy with trillions of stars. You add that up. You can't even think about it. It's more complex than the human body. Anyway, the design is amazing. I'm just going to have to let my next life be a part of examining that. And I believe God will. I believe that's how we'll spend the rest of our lives. I mean, if you're taken back by a mountain or a sunset or the ocean, imagine the monstrous things, amazing things you'll see, you know, when we get a chance to explore that. It doesn't look like I'm going to have it here on this lifetime, but I believe in the next time we will. So I'm going to leave that one. And I'm going to leave this one. But I want to look at this one. I want to look at where we live. Us, you know, us, you, me. Is there a design? Is there a blueprint? Or were you just, you know, a haphazard 10 trillion cells or 100 trillion cells just haphazardly put together? My goodness, I haven't come close to building one single thing that comes even close to a tip of a pin piece of flesh. I can't even come close to building something like that. And so if it was a machine or a house, it would be a multi-trillion-dollar house or machine. Well, who builds a multi-trillion-dollar house or machine and not have a function or purpose for it? It makes no sense. There has to be a purpose. There has to be a purpose for yourself and for me. We are so different. We are so different night and day. Our DNAs are so intricate. They say it fills a shelf 48 feet long. Just your individual DNA. And it is so different from the next person. We might be within a couple feet of the same height and look sort of the same, but we are as different as night and day. Oh my goodness. More different than the animal kingdom, more different than you can think. So if there's that much difference amongst people, would there be a plan for you? Do you have a purpose? Or is Harris and Hitchens and Darwin right? We're just aimless globs, like protein, just eating up natural resources, and so we need to contain that. No, I believe there's an individual blueprint. I believe each of us has something. Oh, it would take a truckload of paper just to begin to scratch the surface of what you specifically are made for. Specifically. And you need to know that. And so I knew that. I could see that. I studied personalities, and like I said, psychology, sociology. I said, wow, people are really different. This is amazing stuff. And so, but just as there's got to be a print for you and me, there's got to be a print for the world. These 7 billion people on the earth right now. Or is that just one aimless mess? Did this great designer, this great creator who created the universe, his mind's on that and his mind's on that, just kind of flat foreheaded and go, shoot, I put all that time into making you, but I don't have a plan for you. And then, shoot, I put all these intricate things together, but I didn't have a plan for the corporate, for the world. I didn't have a plan for the corporate. It's like, I just want them to get along. Make do. Live your life. And, eat, drink, and be merry. Tomorrow you'll die. I really didn't give that much thought. I don't think so. I really don't. I think there's a large corporate set of plans. A giant set of plans. And so, though I've kind of always felt that, I never knew what it was. I was a student of, like I said, of the sciences and of theology, and I listened to the preachers, and I listened to the theologians, and I listened to the self-help gurus on TV and their books and the self-help and trying to explain things. And the ones that are around today, it just seems like a bunch of Band-Aids. And I couldn't figure it out. I heard what the spiritual, when I went to the Bible colleges, I went to a number of Bible colleges. I was looking. I wanted to hear what they had to say. But it seemed like Band-Aids. It seemed like ethereal, non-practical, ineffective, impotent advice. And I looked at the products around. I looked at the people who would buy into those things, and it was just more of the same. It was just a giant group of impotents. Nobody was excited. Nobody knew where they belonged. Very few people had that sense of purpose and peace. That's why 30 billion people ran out and bought that book, Purpose-Driven Life. People are wanting it. They're getting some success, but no significance. So, is there a plan? Is there a plan for you and for us? I believe there is. And this is what I'm excited about going over with. Like I said, when it hit me, I wept like a baby, and it came in the back door. I was just looking for, home, trying to make people feel like they belong, and, a sense of community and a sense of home. And so trying to patch together homes and patch together, and maybe if they had a good job or a business. And so I was just kind of looking at this thing, but I realized there was a lot of people that had $1 million houses. I had helped them build them. And they had no more sense of home than when they started. And then I've seen people with that almost homeless that had a little bit more sense of peace than even these did. So I realized, oh gosh, how do you translate this concept of their need for home into practical solutions? And it's got to be more than just feeding them. And it's got to be something very practical. And if a person knew who they were and where they fit in this earth, oh my goodness. But how come we don't hear anybody talking about it? You don't hear it anywhere. I don't hear it. I don't hear it anyway. So that's what I'm going to be talking about in these next series. And more important, I believe, than me getting this little revelation or epiphany, I believe it's stirring in almost everybody. everybody's sensing there's change. There's a sense of we need change. I mean, presidents are elected on change. Everybody's sowing something's coming, something's done. We need something, and something's on the horizon. It does feel like in the days of John the Baptist. It does feel like something's about to happen. And so I'd like to show you a quick timeline here. And again, being in, studying in these different Bible schools, I learned a number of things about Bible theology and things, because I knew that in the earth, about a third of the earth was Christian. They are subscribed to it, either Catholic or Protestant or Mormon or something. But a third of the earth was Christian. I was like, well, maybe they've got the answer. And in the United States, it's like 75%. But it started to fall off pretty quick because Christianity is proving to be a little bit ineffective. It's proving to be another religion. But there's a baby in that bathwater. And that's what I was never willing to throw out. I was like, yes, there's a lot of bathwater. There's a lot of stuff that just ain't right in this religion called Christianity. But there's a lot that's partly right. And so when I looked at this timeline, and if you take the Christian timeline, you can go back to Adam and Eve. And yes, I know there were probably some type of human beings beforehand, but there was a major change that happened right here. There's a big difference between a grunting, humanoid and what is described as who Adam and Eve were, walking and talking with the Lord in the garden. Big difference. So I don't have time to get in that. But that was 6,000 years ago. And you fast forward, 2,000 years ago, Jesus came. And then here we are today. And if you look at this timeline, 6,000, and there was another major event, Abraham, at 4,000 years ago. And if you study church history, you see this incredible, almost a pulse of faith, of occurrence that has happened each 2,000 years. Adam and Eve, beautiful, living life, but they failed. And it was dark, and it got really dark. And so at the 1,000 year, it was very dark. Then Abraham, incredible faith, started a full nation, and it was amazing history. But by the time they started building the temples and stuff, it got very dark. So that the 500 years, actually 400 years before Jesus came, it was so dark, no prophets were speaking, nothing. And then Jesus came along, and it was an amazing situation. But the same thing happened. It fell off. The same 2,000 years for this beautiful faith of Abraham disintegrated into a religion, and that's what Jesus was born into. But I'm telling you, it's the same 2,000 years that this beautiful thing that Jesus established and came to show us has died off into this. This was the Jewish religion. We've got this Christian religion now. But what's exciting to see is that, wait a minute, there's the timeline. This is 6,000 years. We're about to enter another millennium. What does this next 1,000 years hold? Any of you that studied music, there are seven notes, six spaces. And then a rest note. You start with a rest, you end with a rest. 6 spaces, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. And the last one is called the T note, the unrest. And the final one is called the tonic. That's your rest. Well, that's why so many people are needing tonics today. They're looking for rest. They're looking for peace. I think we're about to enter something pretty amazing right now. What is it? Well, I think I've got a piece of it right here, and I want to explain it to you. Why have we named our last 3 generations X, Y, and Z? We could have been anywhere in history. Z is being built right now. Ys are asking why, Zs are asleep. What's this new generation that's going to wake up? What is this, A? Alpha? What's this new generation that's not going to know this? Oh, this is big stuff. 7 days in a week, rest. Creation, 7, the rest. We're about to enter a time. This is the time we're in. People have been saying something's on the horizon, something big. Well, I'm telling you, something big is on the horizon. And, I'm going to be using some Christian things, some Christian history, some scriptures and things like that, because this is a large group of people. I was raised in the United States, and it's sort of a Judeo-Christian heritage that I had grown up with, but I've seen the Catholic, raised Catholic, and I've been to the Protestant, but I've seen both sides. And so I believe, that I should talk to this group of people. Because if these group of people can realize that perhaps we are partly right and partly wrong, and if we could admit that which we're wrong in, maybe this group of people, like in the story of the blind men and the elephant, you got all these people with touching a piece of the elephant, and and are emphatic as to what an elephant is. And they're holding the leg or the tail or the trunk. They're saying, I know the elephant. Well, we got Christianity saying, I know it. But everyone's partly right. And over the years, I found out we've been partly wrong. And so I'm not asking you to throw away the things that are absolutely true. I'm just asking you to maybe look at a few things. Some perhaps sacred cows, some paradigms that you've held on to. Everybody's saying, we need a paradigm shift. But nobody's willing to look at their own paradigm. It's like the atheists say, that 80% of the people stay in the religion of their birth because they accidentally were born into the right one. Well, we accidentally grew up with the right paradigm. Well, all of us did. And that's why we're fighting. And that's why the world is at a period of time right now where our very existence depends on that we come up with an ideology. We come up with a unifying ideology that we all can realize that we were partly right and partly wrong. This is how big this is. But nobody's been able to see the elephant in the room. And to be honest with you, I wasn't really searching. I was searching for some kind of solution for people's practical needs. And I fell into something and I've been chewing on it for about 13 years. And so, bear with this builder as he tries to explain a set of plans I've seen, a blueprint that not only takes care of the things I was looking for, homelessness and disparity and hope for people, but it's much larger. It actually crosses national and international borders. This is big. This is real big. Like I said, there is nothing bigger. You will not hear a message larger in the next 1,000 years than what I'm talking about. It might be pieces and parts of it. Is this the whole thing? No. I see in a mirror dimly, so do all of we. But what I'm about to talk about is so huge, so ginormous. It's kind of, I don't know where to start, except I just invite you to listen. This series is, I broke it up into 9 chapters. I don't know how I should do it, but in about 8 hours long, and if I did it in a video, that's a small video or audio book, 8 hours. So, take off tomorrow or this weekend and listen to it because, I hope, and don't skip to the end because there's some things that we build upon. You might not understand the very end, but each chapter builds upon. And so 9 chapters, 3 sections of 3. And we talk in the beginning sort of a sketch of what I'm seeing. And then there's some practical social implications in the middle set. And then we hit some really big boys in the end. So if you're a little faint of heart and a little timid, the last 3 are going to be a little tough. But please, be brave. Be willing to be brave. Be willing to take your belief systems and say, okay, let me examine them. I'd gotten to that place in my life where my mind was like a hoarder. I had so much stuff in my head. I had to put it out and then one by one bring the things in and say, Lord, you tell me about this. Maybe these teachers and theologians and professors might not, and these books and these preachers, and maybe they're all partly right. Can you rightly divide the word of truth? Oh, goodness. So, the first 3, I'm going to do a quick intro of the first 3. The first 3 chapters are really big. And just a little bit about it. I believe that on those 30 years that Jesus was alive before he began his ministry, in those last 3, there was something very important about that last night I mean, if it was your last night on earth and you were going to leave tomorrow and you knew it, this would be a big moment. This is a big corporate meeting. This is very important, nothing bigger. And on that night, he summarized, and he did 3 things. And we're going to be looking at those in the first 3 chapters. He did 3 things that have been a point of contention ever since. The disciples didn't understand it. The early Catholic Church didn't understand it. Even Martin Luther admitted in his 95 Thesis, he didn't really understand it. They just sort of said, I think he means, and I didn't understand it. And when I finally saw this, some of these things all started making sense. That Last Supper, when he said, listen, if you forget anything I've done over the last 3 years, all the miracles, all the things I've said, I want you to hear this. And he did 3 things. And we haven't known what they were. And so I'm going to address those three things in a way that you might not have heard before. And it's pretty exciting and pretty big. And so that'll be starting out in the first 3 chapters. So again, 8 hours, that's not too long. That's not too long to listen to a builder rant and rave, But again, please look for these rough diamonds. There's some big rough diamonds. There are diamond miners and there are diamond cutters. I'm hoping there are some diamond cutters out there, like chefs with a slab of meat or a bushel of produce. I mean, they know how to make something. Well, I believe there are diamond cutters that can take a rough, ugly rock and present it. And this is what the world needs. Draw me some plans. Clean them up. Let's take this message out. This is big. This is really big.